Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathan Skinner and today we're looking at the boot trunk area of the Jaguar XK120 Fixed Head Coupe. So that's the FHC versions of the cars. Now what we've got here is we've got a boot mat, we've got the fuel petrol filler cover, we've got the boot trunk lid, we've got the spare wheel cover, and we've got the boot hinge panel as well. All of these items are included as standard in our trim kit, which is cheaper to buy overall than it is all of the individual items in that trim kit. But of course we can offer these items individually. When we say individually, they're normally sold in car sets. For these particular items, they're all singular items, so literally you can buy them individually. But for certain items, if it's a pair, i.e. the door panels, we sell them in car sets, i.e. it's a pair of door panels. But like I say, for these items here, they're all singular, so you can buy them individually. These have all been done in red and cherry red, depending on the material. So the trimmed panels are cherry red, the Hardura is red, and the Moquette is red. When you come to these kind of secondary materials here, there's a lot less shade options available, whereas these sort of vinyls and leathers, there are a few more shades per colour if you follow. It'd be worth checking out the description below, as it's got lots of useful information, including links to our materials and colours library, which goes into great detail about those sorts of things. We offer the widest range of colours in the industry, not just colours but also shades of in colours. So we've got 4 different shades of red, for example, ranging from bright red to maroon. Anyway, be sure to check that out below. It's also worth looking in the description below, as there'll be some useful information about these particular items here that I might have overlooked. I do most of this off the top of my head, so if there's anything that I've forgotten to include, I'll include it in the description below. There's also useful links to other videos related to your XK120 Fixed Head restoration, and also obviously links to our website as to where to contact us and inquire about these particular items or any other items. Anyway, enough on that, let's dive on in. So, like I say, we've got all of these bits here for the boot trunk area. We call it the boot. Our American cousins call it the trunk. So therefore, we refer to it as the boot trunk. So we've got the boot lid panel. It's hardboard, trimmed all the way around, cut on our in-house CNC machine. And it's got the, obviously the slots cut out for the hinges and the locks, etc. And also the slot there for where the interior light goes. Just to reference the book here, we're talking about this panel here, the boot lid. You can see the light elements there. We've also got, we float over it, you can see there, little cut out there to there, we float over, which is for where the prop bracket goes on. We do a lot of this by design, so we float over certain things where we know that when it comes to actually fitting it to the car, it's better to float over and then you just make the small little holes and cuts that you need in your particular kit, as opposed to us chopping out a load of it. So a lot of these things are done by design. It's from years of experience of making these kits and working closely with professional upholsterers as well as individual enthusiasts that are trimming their cars, and we try to make our kits as flexible as possible. So it's not us being lazy, it's us doing things by design based on years of experience, so just bear that in mind. It's actually boot trunk lid. We then have the boot hinge panel. It's a millboard panel, it's creased to allow for a nice bend there, and it's got the slots there obviously for the hinges again. That covers this area here. Some of the cars did not have anything on that area there, but we supply these as standard in our trim kits so that you can colour coordinate and match it all in there. So that's that part there. We've then got the spare wheel cover panel. Now you can't see it in this photo here, but obviously the spare wheel's there. So if you imagine the boot lid further up there, there is a rectangle that ends up, when pushed down in place, covering up there. So again, that is the trimmed panel, hardboard panel that can be used to cover up that area of the boot lid, thus getting everything coordinating. It's also worth noting our hardboard is very specific hardboard. We import it specially. It's 2.55mm. See our blog handbook post for more details on this, but very specific, that thickness, as it is very useful for these cars because it does allow some nice bend and flex while keeping its core strength in the material there, which is brilliant for these sorts of things because there is a curvature to it there, so just bear that in mind. Again, even down to the raw materials that we use for a lot of these things, it's superior to a lot of other people out there. A lot of thought goes into this, and like I say, we specially import that material from a company that specializes in automotive and marine standard hardboard to a very specific thickness, so it doesn't affect the fitment in the cars. It's very easy to get, say, 3mm thickness hardboard. You get that from most DIY stores, but you can't get 2.55. That is a very specific thickness, and it's also tempered to a certain degree to allow for better water resistance and longevity, so just bear that in mind. Just the little details that we do go through to enable us to produce the best kits in the world. Boot mats. Now, on the earlier cars, and certainly the 120 Roadsters, this was often wool, but for the majority of the XKs they switched to Hardura. Hardura is a felt backed plastic material, so it's got a grain facing to it, makes it look a bit like leather and vinyl, and then it's got the felt backing on it already. Very commonly used during this era of production for boot trunk areas there. Edged all the way around using leather cloth, not vinyl. Again, see our blog handbook post for further details on that. And even down to the details here, we have edged it in cherry red to exactly match the rest of the interior trim. A lot of other companies out there would just edge it in red as standard. We give you the option. Do you want it to match your interior trim, or would you prefer a red that closer matches the Hardura? Even down to the thread that we've used as well. And this will balance through all of this gentleman's trim kit. It's going over to a chap in Norway, and we've edged his carpets to the exact same spec using the bright red thread and the cherry red edging on it like that. So these again are the levels of detail that we go to that others will not. They'll overlook these sorts of things, so just bear that in mind. Then finally you have the Moquette, which is a wool based product. It's like a very short pile carpet which is used to cover the petrol filler tank here. Now, as this note says here, it wasn't always covered. The early alloy cars, the early steel body cars were simply painted black, whereas the alloy cars were trimmed in a material. We obviously offer the material so that you can trim those as an option there. So yeah, that's pretty much the kit for the fixed head. It's worth bearing in mind these three items here are actually common for all the 120s, so they would fit the fixed head, drop head and the Roadster. The Moquette is actually common for all XKs. We make it big enough that it suits all the different petrol filler things, but the boot mat is unique to the fixed head. That will only fit the fixed head. The drop head and the Roadster are different shapes, so just bear that in mind. Obviously the cutaway there is for where the petrol filler goes. But yeah, I think that covers it. Thanks for tuning in. Like I mentioned earlier, please read the description below and click on any other links on there. But of course, it'd be great if you could share this with other classic car enthusiasts out there. Thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.